I guess
Right.
it'll go down next time around. But
Hopefully,
anyway,
yeah.
yeah, welcome. Another edition, as mentioned, we're gonna chat about some of the boxing that's going on in the world. There's a lot that went down yesterday. There was some stuff that took place a week prior, or no, actually, it wasn't a week prior. It was a few days prior, and that's probably where we can start. And that is Nonito Donaire. He went up against the phenom that is Naoya Inoue in a televised matchup, but of course it took place in Japan, so it was very early for
Mm,
those in other countries. I know it was around 5:30 in the morning when the event started here.
yeah.
I didn't catch everything, but I just so happened to be able to jump in and catch the Donaire versus Inoue fight, and it delivered for as long as it lasted. At least it delivered.
Mhm.
What were your thoughts on that fight?
Yeah, I mean, my prediction was I expected, to win by stoppage this time because, he now was, he had fought Donaire already, so he knew what he was up against this time. So, and also, Donaire not being as young as he was back then, let's say, put it that way. And but anyway, I didn't really expect it to end so quick, of course, so quickly. That
Yeah.
was really brutal. Well, brutal knockout the way he just started doing that dance, Donaire.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
you could
For the,
see that was the end of the fight, just like.
Without a doubt. For those that didn't catch it, of course, it ended in the second round TKO with uh, Naoya Inoue pretty much blasting through Nonito Donaire this time around. And if you all recall, they had the fight of the year back in 2019. It was the finale of the World Boxing Super Series. And Donaire, he had actually lost a few fights, but he ended up or he had lost a few fights some years prior, but he ended up reinventing himself to a certain extent, and he went back down in weight from 122 to 118. And he even was up at 126 at one point, but he went back down to 118, and he rekindled his career in a sense, and he was beating some top caliber guys. So he ended up winning that World Boxing Super Series, or he ended up going to the finale, and Naoya Inoue beat him in what was a fight of the year. Many didn't expect Donaire to stretch the fight in the way that he did against Inoue, and it turned out that it was one of the better ones that have happened over the last several years. This time around, though, it was less of a contest as Inoue is super explosive. He's in the prime of his career right now, and he looks unstoppable. Of course, they say that everyone can be beaten at some point, but right now he is going to take a special fighter to be able to defeat Naoya Inoue, and the sky's the limit for him as we move forward. And the question will be what's next for Nonito Donaire as well, as he has gotten up there in age, and he's had a great career, Hall of Fame career, in my opinion. But it's like, what's next for him? Is this I mean, he went out at the highest of stages, so maybe this is his swan song.
Yeah, you might say that. Yeah, it certainly appears to be. Oh, hello, Mrs. What was the the last name?
Hello, mother. Appreciate
Um,
you dropping in.
yeah. So yeah, I don't think he can keep pulling out these tricks. This was pretty much I think the end of that when he beat Ubali. That was very impressive because Ubali was undefeated and he was a very solid fighter. And I don't know, did he hold a world title or it was maybe vacant? I don't remember. But anyway, um, I certainly did not expect that kind of ending in that fight. And but yeah, he has always had real power down here. That's for sure. And that helps, of course, when you are already in that age, fighting in your late 30s. And you don't have to go the 12 rounds always or 10 rounds. Or something like that. So of course that has helped him still stay kind of in the game. But otherwise, if he wasn't such a big puncher, I think he would be retired like already by 2019 or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I
So
agree with you there. Yeah, he does have that punch. And it looks like Donaire came in with the WBC bantamweight title, and or not bantamweight. It's bantamweight. So yeah, he came in with the WBC, and then Inoue had the WBA and IBF titles at bantamweight. So
yeah.
Donaire did have a belt. I guess he got it when he beat the Dubois guy.
Dubai,
Dubois.
Nordine, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was when he beat a guy called Ray Mart Gaballo, or was it Caballo? I don't know.
Oh yeah,
uh,
Caballo. Yeah.
another Filipino, I believe, also. Yeah, but he wasn't that famous, maybe, but still rather
Yes.
solid
Yeah, he
fighter.
was undefeated coming in.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's right. And also, Bali had a couple of big wins. He beat Villanueva and who else? There was one more. Uh,
Oh
I
yeah, he
can't.
beat Inoue's brother Takuma Inoue
Yeah, that's right.
and Rasheed Warren.
Yeah. So he wasn't just,
Solid.
just some guy out that they pulled out there some from the rankings, as you had, as did happen sometimes. I mean, rather often you get some nobody fighting a world, a famous world class fighter for a world title. That's not something you want to see, right? But this was not one of those guys, Subali, of course.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
That is true. So yeah, I mean, great run for Donaire for as long as it's lasted, and he's still a top level fighter, but it's just a matter of at that
Yeah,
top echelon there, having to go against the Inoue, yeah, that's tough right there. Inoue
yeah,
is in a
that's right.
position now where he can become undisputed. I need to see who has the final belt because with this win, Inoue has the WBC, WBA, and IBF. So it's a matter of who has the WBO bantamweight
Well,
title.
it used to be Luis Neri, but I don't think it's any. It is it him still? I don't think so. Didn't he like lose it to somebody rather recently? I think.
Yeah, Neri lost to Figueroa, Brandon Figueroa.
Oh yeah, and then he lost to
Then he lost to Stephen Fulton.
even Fulton. Yeah, that's right.
Uh, so
Hmm,
let me see.
that's
Because I
interesting.
think they're up at 122 now, though. I think they're at
Yeah.
122. Yeah. So looking at the rankings, the WBO, who has the WBO? Maybe. Oh, actually, Paul Butler out of the UK. I forgot who he beat to get that. I
Oh
recall
yeah,
Paul Butler.
he's been around for a while, I believe. he he's the guy that was stopped by Zolani Tete like in
Oh, okay.
2013 or something. So he's been around, or 14 maybe. He's been around, but he's never been really, a really world top contender, I guess. Just a decent fighter, Paul.
Okay. Yeah, he actually picked up an interim WBO belt in April against Jonas Sultan, who
Yeah.
I hadn't heard of as a
Hmm.
Filipino fighter. I don't think I saw that fight. But yeah, apparently Paul Butler is the holder of the WBO title. So assuming that
Hmm.
fight happens between Butler and Inoue, which seems like it probably would be makeable and a big money fight for Butler, certainly, then that could change the dynamic. And Inoue could be one of the others to go undisputed here this year if that happens actually.
And I saw just now, that Butler did actually first won the IBF title in 2014, and then he lost it to Tete in 2015. Tete.
Oh,
So that was in March. Yeah. All right. So that's why I thought it was 2014 because it was early 2015.
yeah. So yeah, it'll be interesting. Yeah, see if that fight happens. But another name that is out there is John Riel Casemiro. that's a fight we've been wanting to see between Inoue and him, as well as between
Yeah,
Donaire and him. And the Donaire fight was close at one point, but then some drama derailed things, some personal drama. So
such a
we'll see what's
pity.
next. Yeah, that would have been a
Yeah.
good one.
What was it that happened actually? I know he was like accused of something pretty.
Yeah, the promotional company,
Yeah.
Donaire, they felt they disrespected his wife with some comments that were being made to
Oh,
media during press conferences or something of that nature. And
yeah.
therefore, he pulled out of the fight when they were going
All
to take
right.
on each other.
Oh, so that was it. I thought that he had done, Casemiro had done something like criminal or something. I don't know.
He might have
So,
gotten in trouble for something else too. To be honest,
yeah,
I think he did get in trouble for something.
some
Like
kind of lewd behavior or something of that nature, maybe. I don't know.
yeah, I think he
Yeah,
did get in trouble for something else. He was doing a lot of talking, entertaining guy,
yeah,
but certainly he was doing a lot of talking leading up to that
yeah.
fight and talked
But
his way out of it.
he's also a major puncher and really like very capable guy, and you don't want to. I mean, nobody gladly faces him, especially now in the ring, I would
Yeah.
say. So,
So yeah.
yeah,
So it's a matter of maybe that fight happens now between Casemiro and Inoue. Of course, it depends on whether Inoue, as mentioned, wants to be the undisputed champion or become the undisputed
yeah,
champion potentially and take on Paul Butler. So if not, then probably the bigger fight is him and Casemiro, at least from a fan perspective. I don't think
yeah.
many will be favoring Paul Butler's chance very much. Casemiro always has a puncher's chance just because he's a big hitter there at the weight.
Mm. Yeah, certainly. I mean, the way he beat Tete himself was really impressive. That was, in only 3 rounds. Who would have expected that? Because I don't
Yeah,
know
yeah,
if Tete was at the end of his prime or anything, but he was so much taller and everything. He hit hard also, and to be destroyed like that by a guy who was like how tall he is, 5'4" only. Yeah, that's right,
yeah,
five
somewhere
inches.
around there, I believe.
Oh, hello, Rodolfo. We were expecting you.
Hello, Rodolfo. Shout out, Rodolfo. Appreciate you dropping by. But yeah, you're right
Happy
about that. Yeah,
Sunday.
Tete was expected to do some big things, especially in the World Boxing
Yeah,
Super Series, but of course he
yeah.
didn't.
I also like him as a fighter, so that was a rather shocking to find out that he lost to Casimiro in that way. So yeah,
Hmm. So
but
yeah,
it happens. Like when it happens, sometimes these much taller fighters they get just nailed by the shorter opponents. Like I don't know if you are familiar with Cornelius Boza Edwards. He was like the
what was his name?
Cornelius Boza Edwards. He's
The name seems familiar. I know because
from
Cornelius Bundrake.
Uganda. He was from Uganda. Yeah.
Hmm.
Anyway, he was the
Okay.
super featherweight champion. I think WBC, and then he fought this Filipino called Rolando Navarrete, who was like much
Okay.
shorter. And he just kept nailing him. Every time Boza Edwards came forward, that guy just kept, pound nailing him right on. And then he just knocked him out in the fifth round. That was like a really huge upset because
Wow.
Navarrete was, almost unknown. And yeah,
Yeah. They say styles make fights. Sometimes you get those guys,
yeah,
they're just all wrong for you. It's like Vernon Forrest
exactly.
losing to Ricardo Mayorga. You wouldn't have
Yeah,
expected that, but he just couldn't get over the Mayorga style, which he wasn't a polished boxer or anything, but he just had a style
yeah,
that Forrest couldn't deal with.
yeah, that's right. Forrest was like more of a classic old school boxer. Yeah, simply not accustomed to that kind of
So
yeah
yeah, yeah,
style.
indeed. Rodolfo Rivera Jr. I honestly only watched Dubois versus Bryan and Berlanga versus Angulo because I had to do overtime. How did Jaime Munguia look? All right, yeah. Since you brought it up there, Rodolfo, yeah. How did Jaime Munguia look? So Jaime Munguia, he took on Jimmy Kelly. I believe he's of Ireland or the UK,
Yeah,
one of the two, or I guess it's all kind of in the mix there. But
another Irishman that
okay, yeah, he's Irish. So yeah, he came in. He's relatively unknown, to the boxing masses, but he came in as a solid but unknown opponent, and I felt as though he did pretty good in the first several rounds. And there's an argument that could be made that he was up at the point of being stopped. This ended in a fifth round KO, and it transpired with Munguia landing a set of combinations that sent the game Kelly down. And Kelly, for all his intentions, he did get up. He wanted to. He tried to continue fighting, but he was just overwhelmed at that point because once Munguia smells blood, he goes in. But I thought a decent showing for Kelly. I think it did him some justice. Uh, Munguia started a bit flat in my eyes, and he was looking a bit sluggish. Or either that, or it's partially that. It could be considered that, or Kelly was just a little bit better than advertised, and I think some of that can be true as well because Kelly, I thought, did a pretty decent job of controlling the range early on, and he was frustrating Munguia, and the two got a bit chippy there close to the tail end of this thing being stopped. But overall, Munguia did what he had to do to pull off the win. I don't know if you saw it or not, Slavin or Baz. Let me know if you did. What are your thoughts on it?
yeah, no, unfortunately, I wasn't able to catch it, but I can hope to to find it somewhere later.
Yeah, it should be out there. But yeah, that's my opinion on it. I thought Kelly looked pretty good for given the status and people not knowing him as much,
Mm,
and that
I
would
was
tell
just
me that while Munguia he has taken some strides or he's made some great strides and he looks better than he previously did. But seeing
mm,
him there, honestly, and seeing him there against Kelly, I think that Munguia is he's definitely gonna have to continue to work on some things because as good as he's looked at times, he definitely was struggling a bit there with Kelly at points. And I give Kelly props because Kelly seems to be a pretty solid boxer. I think this was my first time seeing him, but he's solid, fundamentally sound. He had some good
mm.
footwork, and that right there was giving Munguia trouble. So maybe Munguia needs to see a few more fighters like this because that really pushed him, and he had to really work hard to get that knockout that he ultimately did get. But if Kelly would have been able to stand the test of time and last throughout the entirety of the fight, there's a question as to whether Munguia would have won. I don't know because Kelly looked pretty good, even though he was relatively unknown coming into it.
Yeah,
Facebook user Munguia, Jaime Munguia is becoming a wasted talent, taking too many interim fights, not fighting for titles, fighting no big names. Yeah, I think he could definitely benefit from fighting some of these bigger names without a doubt. And
yeah,
maybe with the way he looked against Kelly, as far as Kelly had showing that he had a bit or some wrinkles to his game and really making Munguia struggle. Maybe that's going to make some other guys step up out there as well to look like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and get in there with this guy. He's been calling me out. He called out Jamal Charlo after the fight. He seems to
oh,
want
yeah,
that. So I think that'll be a great one as far as
yeah,
just the matchup and intensity surrounding it. But that being said, it'll be tough for Munguia. It'll be tough for Charlo too, just given Munguia's size, because he is a powerful fighter. But Munguia, yeah, he definitely has to work on some things as far as when he's in there with a guy who doesn't want to be hit, and his whole motive is to just be a pure boxer and not really allow for Munguia to get into those heavy exchanges. So props to Jimmy Kelly for that.
Yeah, I will. I hope that Munguia will, of course, now start fighting bigger names, and as you said, Jamal Charlo would be a great fight, and there are, of course, a couple of others which I just cannot recall at the moment, but. There is, but still, he's still young. He's like 23, 24.
Yeah.
Is it? So it's not like he doesn't have that much time, that he must do that immediately. But yeah, maybe he should.
Yeah, I
But
think
as
he's
you said,
about 26. I think he's 26 at this
oh yeah,
point, somewhere around
maybe
there.
yeah,
And oh yeah,
yeah,
boxing librarian. That's who was in here. Hey, appreciate you dropping by, buddy. Boxing librarian. Who left that comment?
yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
Yes, so,
Go check out the Hardline Boxing Talk on YouTube. Great
yeah,
channel. Want to learn some historic content for sure.
Yeah, he's 25. It says here on box shop.
Okay, 25. Okay, so yeah,
Yeah,
we're middle grounding there. So yeah, he has time, but he's definitely gonna have to work on some things if he wants to
yeah, yeah.
maintain
It's
that
true.
status there.
I remember when he had that fight against Dennis Hogan, there was a lot of criticism, that he didn't do
Interestingly
so
enough, this
well.
Jimmy Kelly, he had two losses coming in. One, he was stopped by Liam Smith. The other, he lost the
Yeah,
decision to Dennis Hogan. So
yeah,
interestingly enough, and
yeah,
Munguia did struggle with Hogan. So yeah,
yeah,
Munguia struggled with Kelly a bit here to start out as well. So that makes me wonder, how he will ultimately do if he gets in there with one of these other top guys. But I think, of course, he's young and he's big. Apparently, he rehydrated to 30 pounds overnight or whatever.
wow,
It's the weigh in. So from what I
yeah,
could pick up on the broadcast, which would have put him at 195 pounds or something around there.
yeah. Because here it says that they both actually weighed above the 160, for this
Yeah,
fight. It was
yeah,
like
yeah,
165 or something. I don't know.
yeah.
I'm not.
Munguia is a big guy.
We
Kelly
don't
is.
use we use a kind of different measuring system.
Yeah,
So I'm not an
yeah.
expert in pounds, even though I got pretty good in that also, by but I still don't know exactly how much, like 74.8 kilos. Let's see, just
Oh yeah, you
let's
have to look at
translate.
we're using those we're using a
Yeah,
different
that's
the
165
metric system here.
exactly. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
So yeah, 165. So yeah, Munguia, yeah. But Kelly, he's a sizable fighter as well. So Munguia looked big, of course, but Kelly, he wasn't small either. He
no,
has a decent
no,
size to him, and he's a pretty solid
164.
boxer. I think that
Yeah,
Kelly
same
came away.
height,
Okay,
six
yeah.
feet.
Okay, yeah. Kelly came away, I think, probably winning over more fans, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see him again here at some point soon, testing the waters with another guy who's probably coming up or in need of a
Yeah,
test, because I felt he was a solid test for as long as it lasted, and if he could have held on there longer, would have definitely been interesting had it gone to the scorecard. Rodolfo Rivera, Munguia, or no, wasn't a Munguia Charlo fight going to happen? Yeah, I think there have been discussions that have been tossed around out there at multiple times, but
mm,
pen hasn't met paper as of yet. Of course, that is a Al Heyman and Oscar De La Hoya doing business type of connection that needs to take place here. And of course, business has been done in the past, but there's always some drama with those cross promotional fights, even though it
mm.
would be good if it wasn't the case, but generally there is.
I see now there's a guy called Carlos Adames who might be a potentially a good opponent for Munguia because,
Oh yeah, Adamas. Yeah, he's solid. He's a solidly built opponent.
yeah,
He
he
doesn't have
beat,
anything overly glaring that I would
no,
say he's excellent at. He's strong for sure. He's strong. He's a solid boxer. He has a solid build to him, and
yeah,
he fights at a he fights at a slower pace, I would say, and he
mm,
could be a he'd be a good opponent, you know, if Munguia. What is
Yeah,
Adames fighting at? Is he fighting at 168 or 160?
160, and he just beat
Okay.
Derevianchenko in his last fight, but
Oh
he
yeah, yeah.
hasn't fought yet this year. So
Okay,
who
yeah.
knows?
Adames, yeah, he's a name that's out there. He's a solid fighter, but solid like I would say B fighter. He's probably at that
Yeah,
B
right.
level. He would be interesting, I guess, test, but for Munguia, but we'll
Well,
see at
we
this
got
point.
we got Chris Eubank top guys that they are still
Now, I
at
think that's a
middleweight.
good one. I think that's a good one. If they want to test Munguia and test where Eubank is, then I think
Yeah.
that's a good matchup right there. Jaime Munguia
Mm.
versus Chris Eubank Jr. But it's a matter of will that happen. But I think that would be a very interesting one for sure.
Mm. Yeah, me
Boxing
too.
librarian, he mentions Golovkin versus Munguia as a good crossover fight and a true test for Munguia. Certainly, you know, and that was going to happen at some. Well, at least it was an attempt. There was an attempt there for Munguia to fight Golovkin that at that point in which he was going to take on Canelo, Golovkin being, and then Canelo popped for the clenbuterol, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
on that test or
Columbus.
whatever. And so they had to
Yeah.
postpone things. And Munguia wanted to fight Golovkin, but I believe the Nevada Athletic Commission denied him
Hmm.
the license to take that fight, and which is interesting because they tend to allow some other crazy stuff at times, but they denied
Yeah.
Munguia taking on Golovkin. So maybe this flame is rekindled somewhere down the line, and we actually see that fight between
Mm.
Golovkin and Munguia, depending on what happens here with Canelo versus Triple G3. But I think that would definitely be a good test for Munguia.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be even more so, I guess. But I think he would probably have a pretty good chance, knowing that Golovkin is now, at the age that he is, and seeing how much he actually struggled against Murata in the first 5 rounds. There is a realistic chance, of course, for
Yeah.
Munguia to win that fight, even though it's not like given that he would win, but yeah, there is a good chance, I would say.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. Rodolfo Rivero, shout out to BL. Once again, shout out to the Boxing Librarian. Check him out on
All right.
YouTube, everyone. The Boxing Librarian. Rodolfo Rivera Jr. Yeah, Adames is a good opponent. Agree. Yeah, Adames, he's solid. He's solid. I think definitely a good opponent to kind of test the waters with a powerful guy. He is a powerful guy. I will give him that.
Yeah,
Boxing
I am
Librarian, I think Alim
Kanui.
Kanuli Janabek, which will go about,
Yeah,
has massive potential. He reminds me
I
of
was
Dimitri
just
Pirog, but I wanted to see him test it.
I was
Go,
just
go.
gonna mention that guy actually,
Oh yeah,
because
old Janabek. Yeah, he's legit. He looks like the real
mm,
deal, the Kazakh fighter.
yeah,
Yeah,
he's like one of the few in the division that are not so well known, but he's undefeated, and looking very strong, at the moment. And
I doubt they throw him in the mix, or throw Hami Munguia in the mix with him at this particular point, right? I don't think
yeah,
they
why not?
want to do that. But yeah, I think he definitely has very, very great potential. He's looked good thus far,
Mm,
and he's one of those guys who's on the fast track. We always talk about some of those fighters coming out of that area,
mm,
Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, etc. But yeah, Janabek, he looks pretty darn good. I can tell you that. I know he wants to fight Demetrius Andre, but it's a matter of whether that actually happens in light of Andre
yeah.
seemingly making some move towards 168 pounds, but also he suffered some injury as well. So
Mm,
his status is unclear at the moment, but
mm,
certainly he's out there. Janabek
yeah.
Amakanoli, is that how you say it? Amakanoli?
Alim Kanuli.
Aleem Kanoli. So Aleem Kanoli, he's out there, and he's going to be a tough test for anyone. And I don't think any of the top level guys would want to just take on such a risk. But if you dare to be great, fight the best.
Yeah,
And he
I
looks
mean
like he's one of the top tier guys for sure.
he's already fought. Like even though, for instance, Nadal, he was no longer, of course, at
Oh
his
yeah,
best, but he beat him and Rob Bryant, and yeah. So
yeah,
he has been in there against some names, you might say, they are no longer, like at
yeah.
their
So,
prime. So yeah.
yeah, I want to see
So
one of these top 160 pounders step up in there and take him on. You know, he's
yeah, I
a
mean those guys from those countries usually want to fight all the best. They don't
yeah.
shrink from a challenge. Usually, well, sometimes maybe, but it's not very usual for them.
Yeah,
Not
he seems
very.
to have that makeup for sure.
Mm.
Yeah, I think he's trained. I want to say he's trained by Buddy McGirt. Might be Buddy McGirt, or is it Ronnie Shields? I think it's McGirt though. I think it's Buddy McGirt
Yeah,
who he's
Buddy,
trained by. So yeah,
Buddy is good. Yeah.
he'll be a solid one. Bruce Gas, Boxing Jazz and more. Shout out Bruce. Salute to you, Bruce. Man, if you're on YouTube, definitely go check out Bruce Gas. You're gonna enjoy it. Trust me, you're going to enjoy it. Appreciate you dropping
Mm.
in, Bruce. As always, it's always good to hear from you. Have you check it in. But yeah, I'll be tuning in once you're back on live again. But shout out Bruce Gas, everyone. Be sure to check him out. But yeah, a lot of interesting fights in store potentially there at 160 pounds. So the water should be well. I guess Canelo versus Triple G is at 168.
Yeah.
Is that the case?
Probably. I don't
Yeah,
know if Canelo can make 160 now, but yeah,
yeah.
maybe.
So I guess that leaves 160 pretty much wide open in some sense as far as who's going to be the uncrowned or crowned champion there
Yeah,
at the end. So
exactly. And when Triple G retires, especially, I think Munguia looks like the most logical successor, to that
yeah,
crown right now. I mean, there's also Jamal Charlo, but we've
yeah,
seen him, not fight so many guys for so long, not being so eager to take on all the best. So you gotta earn that crown, right? It's not enough to be undefeated and having a good record if you don't fight all the best.
yeah. The record means nothing if you're not
Yeah,
even fighting legit opponents. So Jamal is fighting here soon, maybe this month or next month against Selesky.
or is he? I
Who
don't see that fight now still on.
Selesky,
I hope so, but hmm.
unless something
Boxrec,
happened.
Boxrec doesn't seem to have it.
Oh, you know
Hmm.
what? Something happened actually. Now that I think about it, I did get a notice.
Yeah.
He got hurt or something.
Oh
So
yeah,
that
yeah.
hasn't happened.
I saw that. That's right. He did
You're
Charlo,
right.
right?
So
Yeah.
that leaves the division even more in the wind as far as
Hmm.
that's potentially, as you mentioned, Rodolfo Rivera Jr. 160 needs to get their stuff together. We want to see undisputed in that glamour division. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. So now, in light of this injury from Charlo, that's gonna hold things up a bit. So we're probably not looking at a potential for anything or any chance at undisputed until probably 2023 or maybe even beyond at this point. So yeah, some of these guys are gonna have to just get in there and fight each other eventually.
Yeah.
That's the part that's always annoying with boxing at times. Yeah, when someone gets the belt, of course, you're on a district promotional company, and
Yeah.
they
Well.
like to do it in house, which you understand, I guess, from a financial perspective, with them wanting, okay, yeah, if I can just make this fight with another guy that I have here that's already on my promotion, yeah, all the money is right there internally. I don't have to do this negotiation with these outside promoters, but it does hurt the competition level at times when what we want to see is the best fighting the best. That's where you're going to get the best bang for your buck. And that's not to say
Yeah.
that every single fight is going to deliver, but I mean, at least attempt to do the negotiation in some capacity to try and get us these big fights between different promoters, you know?
Hmm. Yeah, when you cherry pick for too long, to use an expression, and that's the danger. When you finally stop, when you wanna finally fight the best guys, well, maybe then you get that stuff that maybe they are not now able to fight you because somebody is maybe retiring or they got injured, so you have to wait now for too long for
Yeah,
somebody, having somebody to fight that is solid enough. So
and
that,
yeah, and I'm going over to. I had to drop by the 160-pound ratings there at Ring to see who else is out there. So they have, of course, Golovkin. They still have him listed as one, but this fight's going to be at 168. So then there's Jamal Charlo, Demetrius Andre. We know those three are hung up. Janabek.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, the Ring has them ranked fifth right now. So yeah, I mean,
mm,
Munguia is four. So it seems like that's a good logical pathway towards each other right there. But as you mentioned as well, Chris Eubank Jr. And then Ryota Murata, Carlos Adames, and yeah, then Sergey Derevianchenko and Arslan Lara. I guess Arslan Lara is a name that's out there. When
yeah,
Arslan Lara versus Jaime Munguia, I think that would be very, very interesting right there.
very, very interesting and unusual because you got one guy who is like in his how old is he, 39, 40
Yeah, yeah,
something,
39 at this point.
a technician fighting a 25-year-old, like pressure fire, or how we want to call Mungia, a puncher. So that
Yeah,
would be a really interesting clash of styles and all that ages, and yeah,
yeah, yeah. I
why not?
agree. That's
Yeah,
what we want to see more. Well, I want to see how Munguia continues to react, or as far as development wise, against a guy like who is at the upper echelon from just a fundamental standpoint. Because as
yeah,
mentioned, I thought Kelly had a decent showing. I would want to see how Munguia would handle being in there with a guy like Arislandi Lara, who we know is going to be the better boxer, but will
yeah.
that sort of pressure get to him in the form of attrition? Would that get
Mm,
to Lara? Is Munguia
probably.
capable of pressuring him enough to get a stoppage, which is tough to do? It's been tough to do. Jarrett Hurd was able to do so, and
Yeah.
Jarrett Hurd, he's a fighter that would take bunch of shots to get in and get his shots.
Mm,
And that said, he was able to pressure Lara enough. So it'll be interesting to see how
yeah.
Munguia would look against someone like Lara.
And if he could do it, then why not Mungia? He can
Yeah,
also do
yeah,
the same thing, perhaps even better. I mean, now Lara is not. He's a little older than when Hurd fought him, even though he's still as slick technically. But when it comes to that, if the fight goes like to the championship rounds or something,
yeah,
they say the legs go on these older fighters,
yeah.
tend to go. So that's what can happen. A late stoppage,
Yeah,
even.
yeah, yeah. I think it's just as much a test for Lara at this stage as it is for Munguia. So it's very much interesting, the matchup
Yeah.
in itself. But yeah, so well, we'll see. We'll see what happens at 160. But for the time being, I guess we
Mm,
can say there's still a lot of things that are up in the air there. But hopefully, we get some clarity as time goes on. Speaking of
yeah.
160 and jumping up to 168, another fighter that was out there last night that fought, and I know you mentioned Rodolfo that you've seen this as well, was Edgar Berlanga taking on I believe he's Cuban or not Cuban, but Venezuelan or no Colombian fight
Colombia.
veteran. Yeah,
Yeah.
Alfredo Angulo, and
Yeah. Mm.
it ended up being a
Not
unanimous decision
Alexis.
victory. Oh
Alexis
yeah,
is
Alexis. Yeah, I'm
the.
saying Alfredo, but
Yeah.
Alfredo Angulo is apparently still
El
fighting.
Pero.
Yeah,
Yeah.
El Taro, he's gonna be fighting here
Oh,
coming up.
really?
Or he might have fought, even though he
Yeah. But
probably he
he's
well we know
like
he's fit.
totally. He's washed up, I believe, by
Yeah,
now.
yeah, But I saw some kind of promotion or something saying that he's looking to make a charge. He's not done yet or whatever. He's coming back to do his
Yeah.
thing. So we'll see.
He,
So Alexis Angulo,
I think
not El Pero.
I think he can say he can fool himself, but not us.
No. He had a pretty little solid run doing what he was
Yeah,
able to do. He was
he
a
was
limited
like,
fighter, but he was very very exciting to watch there for a good
yeah,
period.
he was what Munguia is now. You might say,
Yeah,
So
yeah. Yeah, without a doubt. So yeah, so not him actually. Alexis Angulo,
mm,
who
Romer,
he,
Alexis
he
Romer,
stepped up to take on Edgar Berlanga. If you all know Berlanga, he's a New York Puerto Rican
Wyoming.
fighter who is on the come up right now. He had 16 straight first round knockouts, and that became a big thing, a big part of his career trajectory, at least there early on. But in his last three, maybe four fights, including this one, they've all gone the distance. I believe, yeah, all of them, I believe, have gone the distance. And now that
Yeah,
knockout streak or first round knockout streak is out of the window, we're seeing more of what the boxer Berlanga himself is. And last night, Angulo, who's 38 years old, and I think he hadn't fought in a year or somewhere around there, he came in and he tested Berlanga to a certain degree. The fight wasn't fought at a quick pace. It took some build up. You had certain moments and pockets, but overall, I thought that it really showed that Berlanga still has some work to do just to continue to understand the boxing game just in general. To continue to understand how to use his size, how to use his strength, and how to put himself in the best positions. The two got tied up at varying moments or whatever, and of course,
yeah,
Angulo being a veteran, he knows how to slip in some of those uppercuts and things of that nature. There in the midst of breaks. At one point, Berlanga was frustrated enough that he appeared to try and bite uh, Angulo on the shoulder. He was trying. He like made contact, but he wasn't able to get a full fledged grip on any shoulder meat or anything of that nature. But he certainly was frustrated, and he tried
that's
because he wasn't able to get Angulo out of there. And Angulo, he landed some
yeah,
big shots. Berlanga had his moments where he did land some pretty solid stuff, but it was very, very frustrating for him, and you could visibly see it. And that's going to be the challenge for him moving forward. Is once or now that he's stepped up the competition a bit, and that power isn't showing itself in the same fashion that it was to start his career, what is he going to do now? How is he going to continue to develop? And he recently changed trainers, so I think this is his first fight under his new trainer. He did have Andre Rozier, but he changed up Andre Rozier, I believe, after his last fight. Were you able to catch that one, Boz?
no, 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 not that one either, because
Okay.
it
Well,
was in the middle
you
of
could
the night.
you probably be good just watching the highlights because there was
Yeah,
nothing. There were no like true sort of
there was nothing much
breathtaking,
to
exciting
miss.
moments.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, it's just one of those fights where you know Berlanga, who's top ranked, have been pushing a good deal, which you understand why, considering how he started out with that streak or whatever. Even
mm,
though we know that those things
yeah,
happen oftentimes because of the level of competition, if you're able to build up all of these first round knockout streaks. I think he became beholden to that streak at one point, and it got a lot of buzz and stuff generated around him. There was a decent crowd there. It's on the eve of the Puerto Rican Day Parade. Shout out Puerto Rico. I have
all
some
right.
Puerto Rico family, people who live there. So shout out Puerto Rico. But yeah, it was on the eve of the Puerto Rican Day Parade. So there was a decent amount of people that were there that turned out in Madison Square Garden. I believe it's in the
Mm,
theater, or yeah,
yeah,
I believe it's the theater of Madison Square Garden. So he has good fan backing, and the Puerto Rican crowd in New York, or the Puerto Rican supporters, they typically come out and support, especially when you have a Puerto Rican fighter who was out there headlining, and he was able to headline. Now it's just a matter of what is his staying power? I know he has some buying power if he continues to remain good, but it's more so the staying power in the sense of how is he going to continue to develop, because
Yeah,
the competition is only going to get better from here, and he's going to need some more work to just really find out who he is as a fighter. With this,
yeah,
because I don't think he's not the knockout artist that first round knockout streak led us to
yeah.
believe.
I was going to say that because all of his knockouts have come in the first round so far.
Yes,
So I think he's simply that type of fighter who, when he's unable to finish his opponent off like that very quickly, he just kind of he loses some of his drive or his I don't know how to call it, his killer instinct, down the
yeah,
stretch. It seems as far the further the fight goes, that I've seen those, of course, and you have seen those types before, certainly.
yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
he does a lot of thinking in there. Yeah, yeah, we have seen
yeah,
fighters in the past who have this power, and then once that doesn't work for them in a fight, it's just how do they adjust and everything. And yeah,
yeah,
he seems to be one of those that if he doesn't get you out of there early, then it likely goes the distance. He's yet to show that he has the late stage knockout power. Even though when he took on Demond Nicholson, shout out Demond Nicholson, he was able to
yeah,
drop him late, but he wasn't able to stop him, even though he dropped him multiple times. So that tells you that kind of showed you that yeah, once he gets to those later stages, how does he continue to develop? How does he become that same type of puncher that he
mm,
seemingly is in the first round? How does he become that or maintain that as he goes on? And they've been doing a lot
yeah,
of replays, and I've seen it's made the I know front page of Yahoo, probably some other headlines of him attempting that bite or whatever. So that's going to be something that he's going to continually be asked about now. So we'll see how he reacts to this as well. The story of him biting his opponent.
the old Andre Golota trick.
Oh
Go
yeah,
on.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
definitely. So and we've seen this happen before, but it just so happened this one is on ESPN, and that's a big stage in the sporting world. So now that whole situation is caught on mainstream media wise, we'll see if it gets even bigger or whatever, and we'll see if
yeah,
New York, the athletic commission, does anything about it as far as fines him or anything of that nature. Just given that has been thrown out there and shown on the replays multiple times, and he
maybe.
could have theoretically been disqualified for that. I don't know if the referee. I
Yeah,
don't think the referee saw it, but
you're right.
it could have warranted.
Obviously.
It definitely would have warranted
Yeah, I
uh,
mean,
disqualification.
usually he would get at least a point deducted for that. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah, definitely. Rodolfo Rivera Jr. Yeah, Berlanga has the star power. He even has Fat Joe supporting him. Yeah, that is true. I saw Fat Joe
Fat
out there.
Joe. Who is
Yeah, but
Fat Joe?
he's this rapper. I had to put you up on some of
Oh,
his music. Puerto Rican. I had to put you up
all
on
right.
some of his music.
Yeah, I was gonna say they definitely haven't had a big fighter. The American Puerto Ricans is in a while, since John Ruiz, and I don't remember
Yeah.
who was if there was anybody after him, actually.
After
So
who?
John Ruiz.
Oh, okay. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Because
Yeah,
all the other best Puerto Ricans are from Puerto Rico, not
yeah.
the
You're right.
United States.
You're right.
So
They're kind of blending the two. They're viewing him as at least some are viewing him as the next just Puerto Rican star in general. They're
yeah,
blending the two, but there's still a question of who is that. Even when you factor in the island in itself, who is that next great Puerto Rican star that's out there? I
yeah,
mean, we've seen a lot of them who've shown moments, some spurts, shown some promise and all that stuff. And Berlanga seemed to be on that trajectory, especially as a Puerto Rican
yeah,
American. But that being said, I don't know if he's that guy in terms of just giving where he's at weight wise, because he's at 168. And then
Yeah,
this fight, they agreed to come in a little bit over that. And the thing about it, Angulo, he struggled to make weight, and he had to reweigh the day of just to make sure he was at a certain amount. So you can tell he went through the struggle. So that makes it even more of a question as to, Berlanga being unable to do much with him in there. But yeah, who is that next great Puerto Rican fighter that is out there? For a minute there, it
yes,
looked like Alberto Machado was gonna be something
yeah,
serious, but then that was all derailed in a
yeah.
couple of fights. So
And
I don't know
that
who's
that other guy, what's his name? My mind. He was a lightweight. What was his name?
lightweight.
Um,
I'm trying to think. Lightweight Puerto Rican. I
yeah,
know
it
Jose
was.
Pedraza was there. Junior
Yeah,
lightweight.
Pedraza is from, but it's not. Oh yeah, Verdejo. Wait,
Oh
that's
yeah,
him.
yeah, Felix Verdejo. Oh yeah, yeah. I
Yeah,
forgot about Verdejo. Yeah, he has a lot of issues. Certainly, he's
yeah.
locked up right now. But yeah, he
You're
had
right.
some
Wow.
promising. He had some promise to him, and then that motorcycle accident kind of threw that off, and now that has been derailed
Hmm.
completely. So yeah, his career is essentially done,
Yeah.
given the circumstances. But yeah, so yeah,
So
you're right.
many. Yeah. It's been quite many actually Puerto Rican fighters that actually first started promising, and then there also was Rico Ramos, for instance. You
Oh
remember
yeah,
him? He won the world title against that Japanese guy by a knockout. So everybody was like, "Yeah, now
yeah.
we have a true future star." And then he just he lost to Rigondao. Fair enough, you
Yeah,
can't
yeah,
blame
yeah,
him. Right? But since
yeah,
then, he kept losing and losing most of the time. And
yeah.
yeah, same
Then,
with Dulorme, also Thomas
oh yeah,
Dulorme.
Thomas Delorme. Yeah, 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 he's out there. Then Emmanuel Rodriguez, he's a bantamweight that looked pretty solid, but then he lost to Donaire, or not Donaire, but Inoue. Inoue blasted through him in the World Boxing Super Series when they were matched up.
Yeah.
But so that's Emmanuel Rodriguez. He's a solid fighter though. He's certainly a solid fighter. But yeah,
Mm.
tough sledding for the Puerto Rican fighters there at the top here as of late. There's got to be
Mm.
someone out there I'm not thinking of. Maybe we're not thinking of, but we'll see. Time will certainly tell. But they tend to
Yeah,
produce some pretty
probably.
solid stars, though.
Yeah, probably somewhere between 135 and 154 or something.
Yeah,
In
yeah,
those
yeah,
welter division, maybe, I don't know. Yeah.
yeah. Certainly, certainly. So, but yeah, we'll see. Now,
Mm.
another fight that went down. I know we were discussing it off air a bit, and I haven't seen it. Uh, was Daniel Dubois taking on
Oh yeah,
Trevor Bryan. This was for a WBO World Heavyweight Championship that Trevor Bryan somehow was able to capture at some point. This was
yeah,
promoted by Don King, the legend of Don King himself. So yes, folks, he is still around at 90 years of age. He was out
yeah.
there sharing his thoughts on things of that nature. But yeah, so this fight went down in Florida. Now I wasn't able to catch it. I believe you were able to catch it, Slavin, or at least you've caught the highlights or something. I haven't even
Yeah,
caught the highlights or whatever, but
I
I do
saw
see
that.
that Daniel Dubois got a fourth round
Mm.
KO over Trevor Bryan, and I think that the consensus, I know definitely us heading into the fight, we felt that, of course, it was going to be some form of a stoppage victory for Dubois. I thought it would blast him out, and maybe he
Yeah,
did, considering it was a fourth round stoppage. But seeing the
I did
knockout in
expect.
itself, what did you think?
Yeah, I did expect that. Of course, I said 5, 6 rounds, so it happened a little sooner than that. But yeah, that was simply you know, a superior fighter doing a job on an inferior fighter, and yeah, I don't
Yeah,
know what else to say. I mean, Dubois, as I said, is very good once he can get the guy out of there. Once he's able to knock you out. But when
yeah, he certainly
he
has a
plays,
killer instinct. I think he's
yeah,
shown that he does have the killer instinct for sure.
yeah, exactly. But when he faced Joe Joyce, who has such a great chin and everything, so big, that kind of he struggled because he wasn't able to get him out. He had a lot of good moments.
Yep.
He caught him with plenty of good shots, but it didn't help.
Yeah, I
So
recall that fight. He certainly he was going for it. I believe he probably was
yeah,
confident in thinking that he was going to be able to stop Joyce, and he was really going for it in the fight. But Joyce resisted, and of course that
yeah.
threw Dubois off of his game plan in a sense.
I thought that was so unfair, actually, but that's how it goes. When
Yeah,
one guy, I mean, he just got jabbed, into
yeah,
submission, the boy, and that was, not easy fighting a guy like that of that size. And even though he's not that much smaller himself,
yeah.
Dubois, but still, Joyce is just a beast, and
Yeah, I don't think Joyce has fought since then. I'm gonna look him up.
yeah, well, he beat, I think,
Or did he?
Takan also after that.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, Carlos Takam.
That
Yeah,
was a good fight. He was first losing, then he just
yeah.
took him out.
That was July of last year, so we're coming up on
Yeah.
a year. But he has TBA on the schedule for July 2nd, so he will have been a year out. But he's scheduled to fight in Wembley Arena on July 2nd. Let me see if that is what the larger event is here that this is
All
tied to.
right.
So this is a card
Joyce,
that
right?
has Kellum Johnson on here. See,
Hmm.
um, so I don't know who's going to be headlining it, but I see Joe Joyce versus TBA. But
Yeah.
Kellum Johnson is taking on Igor McAlkin.
Mikalkin. Yeah, that's the
Yeah,
guy
McAlkin.
that Koval beat also before, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Kervilo stopped him in 2018.
that's gonna be when I'm down there in Croatia. That fight.
Oh yeah, yeah. So this is a Frank Warren card. It's going down. Looks like it's going to be on BT Sports because I see promoter Frank Warren, Queensberry Promotions. So yeah, this is going to be
uh,
a Frank Warren card for
Queensberry.
July 2nd, Wembley Arena there in London. So interesting. So it'll be good to see how this
Hmm.
to continue to shape up and
I
who
just
ultimately is his opponent.
just hope that TBA will turn out to be Philip Hergovich. That would be
Oh yeah.
really great.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that would be very interesting. Well,
yeah,
they're at that stage where you're a little bit less than 30 days out in their TBA, so it'll be interesting to see who he actually faces because I'd imagine that. But yeah, I think Hergovich, he might be the type of guy. Some of these younger guys will be the type who will certainly step up out there and jump
yeah.
in. In Hergovich, he had been training prior to having to pull out of the fight with. James Jalay. So yeah, that'll be
Yeah,
interesting. I think that would be a major move if somehow Hergovich ends up being the opponent there for Joyce.
yeah, yeah.
Now is
That would
Hergovich
be
with
just
is he with Frank Warren?
no. He's with that German guy, Sauerland. Yeah,
Oh,
Karl
Sarland.
Sauerland.
Okay,
Yeah,
gotcha.
he's in
Sarland
Germany.
Promotions.
Yeah,
Well,
so
yeah, they
that's why.
probably could do business.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
I think they do.
can. It's just that's why it's easier for Babic too. That's why he was
Yeah.
fighting so much more, on the zone also than Hergovich because he is promoted by Eddie Hearn and managed by Dillian White. So
Hey, hi Jack. How's it going?
I Jack.
Ciaran.
Hello, Kiaran. That's how it's
Ciaran.
pronounced.
Darren, appreciate you dropping in, buddy. Yeah, yeah, we're
No
sitting here
hello for
talking
me.
about. Yeah, and a hello from Oz as well,
Yeah.
for sure.
How dare you?
That's funny. Um, uh,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I just gonna say I started following that guy Ranger Danger on Instagram, and he also is following me now.
All
So
right, cool. Shout out Ranger Danger. Shout out Ranger Danger. Keep them coming, buddy.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Appreciate it. Yeah, Ranger Dan Danger. Be sure to check him out.
mm,
Rodolfo Rivera Jr. Shout out Hiroto Kayaguchi. Do you guys know why the lower weights don't unify at all? Oh yeah, shout out to Kayaguchi. I was able to catch that fight. He took on something Bermudez. Guy's last name is Bermudez. I can't remember his first name, but these are 108 pounders. And man, it was an all action fight. They were going at it the entire time. Kayaguchi was just a step ahead, but Bermudez was right there, and just when it looked like Bermudez was going to be out, he would just muster back up something a little bit. He was bloody all over. I
yeah,
think they may have had a head clash or something because Bermudez had a cut on the top of his head. You know, you see sometimes they get on top of the head, and they kept bleeding. It was tough to stop it. They even
mm,
slopped a big slab of Vaseline up there just to try to get the blood to stop going. But he was eventually stopped, I believe, in the eighth round or somewhere around there. I had to look it up by Kayaguchi,
yeah,
who is a Japanese fighter, friends with Inoue. They're fighting at 108 pounds. I believe Kayaguchi started out at
mm.
105 or something like that. This was my
I
first time
saw
seeing Kayaguchi, but it was an excellent fight. I'm going to definitely try and check them out even more. And yeah, these guys do deserve more shine. These guys at their lower weight classes, they're full of endurance, and they really bring it each
yeah,
time out. You know, but they don't get that type of shine that some of the other bigger weight classes get.
yeah. I saw that ending. I believe in that fight. That's so.
Okay. Hey,
Yeah,
yeah, he was laying into him, man. Hey, Kayaguchi. Yeah, man, these guys, they're just balls of energy, those
yeah.
smaller weights. Yeah, they go at it.
Was that which weight class was this super bantamweight or feather?
I think it was right above minimum weight. So that
Oh
would
yeah,
be
flyweight.
flyweight,
Like
I believe.
yeah.
So I
All
believe it was
right.
108 pounds, if I'm not mistaken.
Even lower. All right.
If I'm not
Yeah, the,
mistaken, let me see.
those tiny guys are really like full of energy.
Hiroto Kayaguchi. Oh, yes, it's light flyweight actually. So, so, um, yeah, they both weighed in at 107 and a half or 1 3/4, 107 and three
Mm,
fourths. So Esteban Bermudez. So this is light flyweight. So
yeah.
flyweight, I guess, is 112.
Mm. I don't get why they have those. Why they need those two last divisions because everything should be flyweight and that's it. The lowest division. That's
Yeah,
how
they
it
added
was.
those on.
Yeah.
But I guess you have some guys who come in even lower than that. When I was doing this video on Jimmy Wow, yeah, there were times when he weighed under 100 pounds, which is crazy to
Yeah.
think about.
Or when he lost, I think, yeah. When he lost to that Scottish guy, that was the first loss he had, like in the
Yeah,
17th round stop. He was like 49 kilos, I believe, and that's like you know
yeah,
below 100 pounds for
yeah.
sure.
It's crazy. This is
And this
small,
guy
small.
was like, well, at least like 15 to 10 to 15 pounds maybe heavier. That's why he
Yeah,
won.
yeah. He was always fighting some bigger guys. That's what I
Yeah.
noticed too in doing the
Mm.
thing. Yeah, even though he'd be at 100 pounds or 102 pounds or something crazy like that, he'd be fighting guys that are 110,
Yeah.
112 and up. He
Yeah,
didn't care.
because he had the punch. Mm.
Yeah, yeah, he was certainly a big puncher, but
Yeah.
yeah. And to your question, Rodolfo, yeah, I don't know why those guys don't unify. I guess it's a matter of promoters taking it on and getting those fights made, and them wanting to have those unification fights with a decent amount of money on the line. Because for those lower weights, they get those 1,000 or not, they get those belts, and that can mean a lot, and that gives them some
Mm.
extra buying power right there. So I think with the right cards being brought to the table, that will unify. It's just a matter of working it out. I do like the fact that before they went out, as far as working with boxing, HBO, they started putting on these sort of all flyweight, super flyweight type cards, and that really put some shine on the division. And I think that helped boost the status of some of these smaller fighters as well. So hopefully we get to see more of that in light of Kayaguchi getting to headline this
Yeah,
show. And I thought he put on and had a great display. And usually when we get those fights from those guys in those lower weight classes, they typically always deliver as well, you know.
yeah, yeah. Well, it was hello, Kiara,
Hijeka. I like
and
that.
I was just gonna say it was not until the 90s when Michael Carvajal fought and
Oh yeah,
Chiquita
Michael Carter.
Gonzalez. It was then that that division became a little more noticed, anyway. Until then, it
Yeah,
was like nobody really watched those fights except from their, home fans, like and families and stuff, friends. So that's how it was. So
yeah. Those guys are still fighting for their respect in some sense, I guess you
yeah,
can say. But it's good, you know, when we get to see some of them get some of that shine because they are some scrappy young fighters or scrappy smaller fighters. Hajeka, you know the fighter John L. Sullivan, he had a few with
no,
that power with West Power. Oh
don't
yeah,
mention him.
oh yeah, Richard Kyle Fox. That's who you're talking about, Hijeka. Yeah, Kyle Fox was actually Richard Fox. He was actually over the National Police Gazette, and of course, back in those days, paper media was like the main form of media, and they typically controlled the airwaves in a sense. And he had a feud with John L. Sullivan, and therefore that continued to linger on out there in
Hmm.
the midst of John L. Sullivan's career. Every time Sullivan made some strides or whatever, and people were clamoring and claiming he was the best heavyweight in the world. But Fox would come out with a headline and have a fighter that they would back there at the National Police Gazette that would say otherwise, and it led for some historic fights, the Jake Kilrain fight, Patty Ryan fight, etc. But the bigger, of course, being the Jake Kilrain fight when the two of them fought in, I believe it was 1889 or 88, one of the two. I think it was 89 though. But
Yeah,
yeah, when they fought,
that's
that kind of set the
that's why
tone.
this guy is calling himself Kirain. That's the guy that Munguia fought
Yeah,
last night.
Jimmy Kilrain. Yeah. He might have got that off of old Jake because
Yeah,
Jake Kilrain, yeah, who was yeah, great fighter from back then. Who Sullivan
yeah,
fought. This is the first, I guess, filmed or at least they had pictures of it. Bare knuckle fight. There are pictures out there. It's pretty crazy and amazing to see it. I mean, that's the those are the only pictures of Sullivan and bare knuckle action, essentially in the
mm.
midst of it. It's pretty cool to see, for sure.
So yeah.
John L. Sullivan, talk about going back. Hope you hit one. Hey, appreciate it, Hijeka. Same here, working it for sure. Then
Mm.
boxing librarian Junto Nakatani looks promising. Those backhands with his left uppercut, he looks good. Nakatani. I know of a Nakatani, but I don't think I'm thinking of the right Nakatani.
Junto, yeah, I've
I
heard
might
of
be thinking of
him.
Nakatia.
He,
Let me look him
didn't
up.
he? Yeah, I believe he beat somebody. Oh yeah, well, he was a flyweight. Yeah, that's right. He's not the guy I was thinking of.
Yeah. Neither. Oh yeah, he took on Yamaguchi
Yamauchi,
back
yeah.
in April. Oh yeah, not
Mm.
Yamaguchi, Yamuchi.
Mm.
Oh, he got Angel Acosta. I know Angel Acosta. He got a win over him, huh?
Milan
Oh, I like
Melinde.
Acosta, Puerto Rican.
Yeah. Milan.
Interesting. I'm
Mm.
gonna have to check him out, Boxing Librarian. Uh, I have to definitely check out Junto Nakatani. Because I saw he had a
No,
win over Angel Acosta. I got to check that fight out. I don't know
I
if I saw that. I don't think I
I
did.
just discovered that somebody put up that Berlanga fight on YouTube. Actually,
Oh
it's not
yeah.
somebody. It's Sky Sports. Actually, that's
Oh
weird.
yeah. Oh, Sky Sports. They put up the little biting sequence.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's gonna be continue to be shown out there. Yeah, Berlanga. Yeah, he's gonna have to come out and look impressive his next time out to
Mm.
silence the doubters. Did you watch
Yeah.
the In the Corner episode? No, I don't. I didn't watch it.
Mm.
Oh, never mind. I see what you're saying, Hijacker. Oh, you're talking about for the Sullivan. Yes, I have seen him. Seen it
Yeah.
numerous times. Yeah, in this corner. Yeah, that's when you go back. Yeah, there's another one called Legendary Boxing Champion. That's worth checking out as well if you're into the historic stuff. And it goes Legendary Champions. It goes through the heavyweight lineage from John L. Sullivan to at least I want to say Gene Tunney in that video. In that particular video, yeah, I think it stops at Gene Tunney. But yeah.
Oh, yeah. I only listened to Bunce's boxing podcast. That's like Steve Bunce, who's from.
Oh, Bunce.
Yeah, that
guy.
I've
heard his name. Yeah.
Very colorful person.
Oh, yeah.
That when he starts to scream, wow, you just hear very loud. He can be very loud. Yeah.
Indeed.
And he also doesn't always pay he doesn't always watch what he say. Sometimes he can be very,
gotta love those colorful guys there,
outspoken. Yeah, that's right. Outspoken is the right word.
He'll say what you were thinking, right?
Yeah, exactly.
What was thinking. That is funny.
He'll say he's tank. He was terrible in this fight.
That is funny. Cool. Rodolfo Rivera Jr. Yeah, next week there's a good card with Julio Cesar Martinez headlining. There are actually 3 title fights in the lighter weight too. Okay. So Julio Cesar Martinez. I like him. Exciting fighter. Lost thoroughly to Chocolatito last time out. That just shows you that Chocolatito is still on his game right there. But I like Julio Cesar Martinez. I believe he was coming up in that fight. It was just a bit much for him. Or he might have been coming up or coming down, one or two. I think it was coming up actually. But I didn't know he was fighting.
Yeah, he's very good. Yeah, that's right.
He has this style that he doesn't really care about the jab. He gets in there and just starts swinging those things.
Yeah, I was just watching. I think it was last year they were still giving those because of the pandemic. They were putting out some footage of the past fights, and I watched his fight against Christopher Rosales. That was a very good fight. Good win. Yeah, for Martinez.
Yeah, he's exciting. He had that exciting fight with he took out this up and coming fighter out of the UK, but I think they ended up making that a no contest or something like that. I forget who he's fighting.
Oh yeah, Charlie Edwards. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a small guy, but very how to say. Yeah, I mean he's got all the necessary tools anyway. Yeah, pretty dangerous.
Without a doubt, Rodolfo Rivera Jr. Anyone who's trying to get into old school boxing should watch the Legendary Boxing Champions documentary. Very, very entertaining. Yes, indeed, Rodolfo. Indeed, that is a very good one. As one I was mentioning, you get to see some of that lineage and how things started out. It's definitely worthwhile. It's out there on YouTube. There's some videos out there where you can check it out for sure, and you can I think you'd enjoy it for sure. I think you'd enjoy it if you're into the history of it. I know I've watched it a ton of times, and I think that coupled with a lot of the other stuff, Boxing Librarian, him going over a lot of the historic stuff, Scrapbook Boxing, shout out Scrapbook Boxing. Yeah, that gets you kind of dialed in on that historic stuff for sure. So, I'm all for that. Shout out to Random Acoustic Thoughts as well. I was on a live with them yesterday. We were talking old school boxing, some of the middleweight divisions, the early starts, Nonpareil, Jack Dempsey, Bob Fitzsimmons, etc. We got into some other discussions as well on Langford, etc. All those guys from back then. It's always good.
That was
Boxing librarian. Someone told me Hagler beats Tunney quite well. I disagreed. I would go for Tunney. Yeah, I'm with you there. Excuse me. I'm with you there, boxing
that,
librarian. I think that I like Hagler. I think he's a great fighter, great champion, all that stuff. Middleweight. Tunney would have some size on him, and Tunney was an excellent boxer, very excellent. He fought with that with his hands a little bit lower, but he would pop that jab upwards. He was innovative in that sense, I guess you can say. So I'd have to agree. If it came down to a fight between Hagler and Gene Tunney, yeah, I had to go with Gene Tunney, the Fighting Marine.
that would have to happen at 175, right? So
Yeah. I'd imagine, it'd be somewhere
yeah,
over that limit. And of course, Hagler, he was a pretty much a long time middleweight. But yeah, I think the size would play a factor as well for Hagler, and I think it would be in his and it would be in Gene Tunney's favor. And Gene Tunney, was a very excellent boxer, very very excellent. As you think about the fact that so some disagree. I thought that Sugar Ray Leonard won the Hagler fight, or when him and Hagler fought, I thought that Sugar Ray Leonard won that
yeah,
fairly.
me too.
Though it was close. I know some people think Hagler
Yeah,
was, but Sugar Ray, he boxed in that fight, and we get those
yeah,
spurts there at the tail end. But it will be similar in the sense that Gene Tunney, he was great from the outside, so I think he'd be able to do enough to keep Hagler at bay, and that will pose problems for him for sure.
yeah. I mean, Hagler gave away too many rounds, with that slow start, and
Yeah,
that's
definitely.
a bad strategy, obviously. Yeah,
Yeah, definitely. Boxing librarian Tunney himself said he held his hands low because he hit harder punching that way. Excuse me, agreed. Yeah, I read that as well somewhere. I have read that. Yeah, Tunney. Yeah, that was very innovative for the time in the sense that and you, of course, had some other boxers who had these
Tony,
varying styles and all that stuff. But
well,
yeah,
yeah,
Tunney at that particular time, he would bring that jab from down low. You could just see it had some pop on it, and
I
Jack
believe,
Dempsey was that.
yeah, I believe Ken Norton did the same thing. I think he
Oh
held
yeah,
his hands low. Yeah,
yeah, it had that awkward little stance where he would
yeah,
bring that thing up. Yeah, he had some long arms too.
yeah,
So yeah, that's another one. But yeah, I think anytime you have fighters who are able to master a style of that nature, that'd be tough for anyone. So yeah,
Hmm.
Tunney was as a matter of fact, I'm doing a video. I guess I'll share it. I'm just making it a top 8 video, top 8 fighting Marines, or
Oh
since I was
yeah,
in the Marine Corps myself, I'm doing it like that, and I have them just going down the line, and the rankings is it's interesting. It's not necessarily full fledged like ranking, like, oh yeah, this guy's the better guy, da 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 da. But it's also
yeah.
just but I have it just going down the line. I have Tunney in there, Tommy Lochran,
Oh yeah,
Barney Ross, who's a
Barney
Marine,
Ross.
and some others as well. Carmen Basilio,
Oh yeah, right.
he was a Marine as
And
well.
I really hate making those top lists, because it's so hard. I mean, to
Yeah,
be, to because there are always you always also forget someone. I mean, like in the middle, I'm almost finished, and then oh yeah, that's right, and I have to
yeah,
do it all over again because that guy belongs among top five, and I've already done like 8 of them.
yeah.
I
Yeah, I'm
think
just
it's just
limiting it. I'm
yeah,
limiting it to 8 just to keep with the theme of the channel, which is 86 boxing. I do a top 8 or a top 6 or something like that. Just kind of switch it up a bit. So I have to leave some guys off, like Jamel Herring, who's a modern
yeah,
times fighting in this day. There's
really
another dude.
nice,
Yeah,
nice
Mark
guy.
Bazooka DeLuca. He was a Marine as well, but his bigger fights were, or his biggest fight was against Kell Brook. He lost a couple of years back, but he's out of that Boston area, I believe. But then there are some other old school. And I'm gonna have Leon Spinks on the list. I have him coming in at 8. He's interesting. Got a win over the great Muhammad Ali, but you know, his career was up and down, very much up and down.
Very, very. He had one more pretty surprising victory over that Colombian puncher Bernardo Mercado. You know, he stopped him in the 9th round. That was, I mean, nobody could have really expected that. Even though Mercado was just a puncher, he wasn't really a boxer. So
Leon's one of those. Then I have what's the name on the list? Weaver. What's the name? Weaver.
What?
Mike Weaver.
Oh yeah, Mike. Yeah, Mike Weaver. Hercules.
Hercules. Yeah. Hey man, he was a big dude, big solid build to him.
Yeah.
He was tough.
And a big left hook also, really good.
Yeah. He started slow often, and that kind of hurt him early on in his career. But when he was on, he was on.
But he had good stamina, and he knocked out. He won the championship, or WBA championship, when he knocked out that guy John Tate in like the last few seconds of the fight.
Yeah. He had him out cold, face first on the ground. There, it was crazy.
Yeah,
out cold. You weren't expecting it.
No way. Yeah. That's how it goes sometimes.
There's a channel, Rainy Days Boxing. They have a good little documentary on Mike Weaver you can check out. But yeah, that's something I'm working. I'm gonna try and release it sometime shortly here. Just need to put a few finishing touches and stuff together in the video in itself in terms of some of the animations and things that I'm gonna do. But Boxing Librarian Tony also had a solid chin, good movement, good jab, and a hard fight for most, without a doubt. He certainly had a solid chin. I had posted a little video of the long count there. That's always a controversial one and definitely a historic fight in the history. The Tunney versus Dipsy 2, when the long count happened, Tunney got dropped and the referee, it seemed to be that Tunney was down for 14 seconds. But I think Tunney had his senses and would have gotten up just based on what I could tell from the video. And we have a lot of more high def type videos, or at least they look to be in more high definition, just based on some people going through editing, increasing the resolution or doing whatever they do. But definitely, I thought Tunney would have gotten up, and realistically, he pretty much outboxed Jack Dempsey for the majority of those fights. The majority of those 2 fights, he pretty much dominated. You can say outside of the knockdown.
Yeah, there was always so much fuss about that long count, but nobody actually said that also Tunney dropped Dempsey in that fight also. So
he did.
It wasn't like he was so lucky he just got away because the referee helped him, and that's not, you gotta give the man his credit, right? So,
he did some good things for sure. He went out on his terms. Tunney was one of the first he had to go out on his terms. Of course, his only loss being to the great and legendary Harry Greb.
And then he beat him twice also, I believe.
The second one is many felt that Harry Greb won that second fight. Tunney got the decision. I believe it was the referee's decision or something of that nature. I was talking with the Random Acoustic Thoughts about this, but I believe it was the referee's decision. But many felt that Greb won that fight as well, the second fight. So the first 2, realistically, of course, the first one was no contest. Greb slaughtered him in that first fight, had him bloodied and beaten, and it was amazing that it continued on.
He was like 5'8", and Tunney was 6 feet tall, I believe, and a natural light heavy at least. So Greb was more like a middleweight, So
he was. And Greb, he wasn't a guy with power. If you look at his record, in those 300 fights or nearly 300 fights, he probably had more than that realistically. But if you look at his record, he didn't have a ton of knockouts. So that meant he had to really outbox his opponents. He had to use his speed, quickness, and be able to adapt, even if he was in there with punchers. And he has arguably the best resume in boxing history. I would say so.
Yeah, like 49
Between
KOs, it says in Boxer, but their
yeah,
record is not really complete. It says 108 wins, 8 losses, and 3 draws.
yeah. Shout out to Xavier, the boxing nerd. He had put me on game on how to correctly count those records on BoxRec, where they don't count because they don't count the newspaper decisions in the midst of it. So under there, right
Yeah,
above where the rankings are, and I had seen these in the past, they have those total amounts of fights, but you have to calculate what they're showing is only those that were, I guess, official decisions in some sense,
mm,
as opposed to the newspaper decisions. So Greb would have a ton of newspaper decisions that are unaccounted for in that 108 thing. So when you really
right.
break it down, he had way more than that. And there were a lot of fighters who had those situations as well, where at least on BoxRec they don't count the newspaper decisions. And in some of the videos that I've made, and it's been one of those things I've been trying to kind of really hone in on or decide on. But I've had their record listed as what was listed on BoxRec. So therefore,
Mm,
it would show like for Grant, for instance, and that's a video I want to redo. I had the 108 and everything, but some of the fights that I mentioned in the actual video were newspaper decisions. Like some of his best fights were against some fighters, and the newspapers decided or whatever. So it's one of those
yeah,
things in doing the research that makes it kind of tricky, yeah, in terms of just like what is the actual record of a fighter. And there are other sites
yeah,
out there. Cyber Boxing Zone, I think they do a good job of detailing the number of fights, and they even have like the exhibitions and things on there as well. But it's a lot to look at. That certainly, especially when you're talking about guys like Greb, Sam Langford, etc. Those Tony and Canzoneri, and say for instance Maxi Rosenblum, those type
yeah,
fighters who have these crazy amount of fights. Jack Blackburn, even when I was doing his, it's just they have so many fights. Just
yeah,
going through the record fight by fight is a chore in itself, So I had to kind
yeah,
of narrow down, just focus on certain fights, basically.
definitely, yeah.
Certainly a chore.
Hmm. Yeah, I was just going through this record, and now it seems, yeah, they really don't. This makes no sense. For instance, I found by accident this old heavyweight called Billy Miski,
Oh, Billy
who,
Misk. Yeah.
yeah, or
The
Misk.
St.
And
Paul
here it
or
says,
St. Paul Thunderbolt. Is that what it is?
yeah, he fought Jack Dempsey several times, but
Yes.
he was says he's got only 3 losses above. Then I go down, his record is like 13 losses. It's
Yeah,
stated
yeah.
there. But
Yeah.
I don't know who really keeps up these sites, these pages, but it's not
So I
doing
know they
very
have
good.
a team working it, but yeah, it's because of that newspaper decision stuff and them. I think they have some reasoning somewhere in the background, or maybe on one of those other pages. They have their
Yeah,
reasoning behind why they don't count the newspaper decisions. I forget what it
yeah,
is, but that's the reason behind it. They don't count it. Yeah, they don't count those, and therefore, yeah, it looks like his record is different than what it is. So what I've been doing
yeah,
now, especially on the little short videos that I have, those shorts or whatever, I put like how many newspaper decisions they've had in their record. It's as well as no contest. Now, even though I
mm,
just list them as NDs, so theoretically they could have won all of those newspaper decisions, but it's not counting in their record, which is pretty interesting.
yeah,
Uh, but people, count them. Like I count them. I credit them for those victories for sure because
mm,
it was really down to sort of pre-arrangements, pre-agreements in some of the states. You if it wasn't a knockout, you had to have this sort of prearranged draw in some sense, or it would be no decision. And in the newspaper, that's where the newspaper came in hand. And at that time, they're very good. It's very different from media today, the way they covered the fights and everything. It was very detailed. I've looked at some newspapers. Yeah, they were giving round by rounds and all of that stuff. They were typically
Yeah.
straight shooters and who they felt were winners. The times were polarizing and all that, but they were straight shooters. And hey, if they felt that the hometown fighter lost, they would even put that in basically in bold statements in the newspapers and all that stuff. So we've seen a shift even there from a media. These days,
Yeah.
main media is just like who's first to announce a fight. That's where you get your clout and accolades in today's boxing media. Oftentimes, like, oh yeah, like Mike Coppinger or whatever, and I don't know him or anything, no disrespect, but like yeah, he can be first to get the story or whatever, and then of course that generates a lot of buzz and following. Oh, like, oh yeah, Canelo's fighting Triple G, just got it, yeah, first to break it, and then all the other sites follow suit.
Yeah. Yeah, I know it's quite ridiculous, this state of things. Yeah.
So yeah, I don't even stick with that mix there. So I updated the 86 boxing website. I used to post a bunch of press releases. I haven't been doing them as of late. It's just one because it's a ton of them, and two because I mean all the other sites are gonna post them anyway.
Yeah, right.
Just one of those things. But yeah, but cool. But yeah,
Cool.
man, I think we got through all of the bigger fights that were listed
We did.
that were under the table.
We sure did.
I see Sebastian Formella lost to Congo. I forget Congo's first name. This UK welterweight.
I don't know.
Oh, Sebastian Formella, the German fighter. But yeah, he lost.
Yeah, Sebastian. Oh, yeah, that's right. Next week we got also Beterbiev versus Joe Smith Jr. That's
Potential for fight of the year right there. Potential
yeah,
for fight of the year.
exactly.
Potential for knockout of the year.
A gunfight. Yeah,
Certainly. Hopefully it lives up tonight. That's one I would
cool.
like to see in person. I should have made an attempt to go check it out, but that one should be
Yeah,
a very good one. And I think, assuming it delivers, which it should deliver, just given the style of both fighters, then I think we're in for a treat right there. So that is one
yeah,
definitely worth checking out. So I think I said in our last discussion, yeah, that's my most anticipated for the month. And running second behind that would be Bam Rodriguez against Sarisikat Sorungvisai, which I think is going to be another excellent banger of a fight there, if
yeah.
all
That's
is
right.
as good as intended on paper, at least. So
So
looking
Rungo
forward to those.
size. He's really, yeah. I mean, a guy who brings good fights usually.
Yeah, I might have to
Is
go with Sorungvisai. His power is the real deal.
yeah,
The real
when
freaking deal.
how he stopped Chocolatito, that was pretty amazing. For
Yeah,
four
that was
rounds.
woof. Yeah, that was it. That's a lasting knockout right there. That
Like
was a
what?
lasting memory of a knockout. Yeah,
Yeah,
I felt he won that first fight as well. Many people didn't. I watched it. I scored it twice, and both times I
yeah,
had Sarungvisai winning. You know.
yeah. I think I didn't score it, but I did see it. I'm gonna have to do it again. So, but
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
yeah,
I had him winning also. Yeah, I believe.
yeah, and it was close or whatever. But hey, Chuck Latino, he looks good.
Yeah,
Potential
he
for
was.
a rematch of those two down the road. I think that would be interesting as well. If
He
we
was
see if
number one. Yeah, in his
yeah, without doubt.
division back then, he was number one. Like the fear. I mean, the horror of the divisions, terror,
Yeah.
whatever. So
Maybe it's a situation where Sarungvisai, he's just tailor made for Chocolatito.
yeah,
With and Sarungvisai, he lost to Estrada. I felt like Estrada won convincingly when they fought here this
yeah.
not too long ago.
And
And
he lost to Chocolatito Estrada before
yeah, he did.
anyway.
But I felt that Estrada won that fight. To be honest with you.
All right. Didn't
Or
see
no,
it.
no, 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 no. I did no. I'm wrong. Sorry. No,
Not
you're
the
right.
first one. Yeah, they had the second. Yeah.
Yeah, the second one. I felt that Chocolatito won that fight.
All right. That's right.
It was super close. I felt that Chocolatito deserved a nod in that fight, to be honest with you, which makes it interesting, right? So those three, they make for interesting style clashes between each other. But yeah, I
for
did feel
sure.
that Chocolatito won that second fight with Estrada. But I do
Mm,
felt, of course, Estrada definitively
one,
beat Sarung Visai
yeah,
when they had fought prior. And so any one of those combinations of rematch should make for an interesting fight, you know?
yeah, definitely. Estrada has had a very good career. Yeah,
Oh, yes.
yeah, one of those late bloomers, you might say, even perhaps,
Yeah,
because he
yeah.
wasn't so successful earlier, but then he really started really winning big fights, and yeah,
Yeah, it's always good to see these guys get their shine, and you get to see how
yeah,
talented they are. So we'll see
mm,
if Bam Rodriguez, who has looked good thus far, and he beat Carlos Quadras. I still need to watch that. I've seen some highlights. I still need to watch that fight in its entirety. But Bam
mm,
Rodriguez, he's a solid fighter. He's got good movement and everything, and he seems to be just all around a pretty good fighter. And so we'll see how he handles Sarung Visai. I think if he gets a definitive win, then hey, he's right there at the top of the division. He has the name, you know.
yeah, yep, that's for sure.
Cool. But yeah,
Mm.
I think that is pretty much it. I see a Uzbek fighter, Jalolov. I didn't see this fight, but he fought
Oh
on
yeah,
Showtime apparently.
I read about that earlier.
I
Jalolo,
might go
yeah.
watch that. I need to go down and watch some stuff for sure
Mm.
that I've missed to kind of catch up.
All right,
But yeah,
cool.
that aside, but yeah, it's been great.
Yeah,
Appreciate you dropping in.
yeah,
Buzz, of
it's
course,
always
we always do these boxing chit chats.
yeah,
I guess you can call them that.
yeah.
So we got some
Shit,
stuff
but
coming
no
up next week.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, we'll be tapped in here next week, and we'll see how it goes. But yeah, some
Yeah.
good stuff coming up. Appreciate everyone who dropped in here. Rodolfo Rivera Jr., boxing
Mm.
librarian. Shout out Hijeka, aka Ciaran. Appreciate you dropping in. Bruce Gas, thank you. My
Mhm.
mom, thank you for jumping in here. Appreciate it, the love and support. But yeah, thank you everyone. And yeah, we'll be back in the mix here sometime shortly, and pretty soon. Hey, you'll even catch me when Boz goes live on this channel. I might have to drop in there, you know. So we'll make it happen.
Yeah, yeah. Why not? Sure.
Cool. All right
Cool.
then. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you, Rodolfo. Certainly have a good one.
Thanks, Rodolfo. See you. Bye bye. Have a good day.